Welcome to a Friday Reads, where I talk about what I read, what I'm reading, what I hope to get to next, where I just try to escape from the existential dread that is the universe around us. Yes, I'm referring to the most recent election. No, I'm not happy about it. This is probably not a surprise to you if you're here. If you need a safe place to vent, seek help, etc., my Discord is always open. In general, it's a very safe space. Everyone there is just kind of freaking out in the "my world's on fire, how about yours" chat. It's also a chat you can mute and ignore. So you can exist and try and escape, or you can engage with it. You can see how people are grieving, how people are maybe choosing activism. That's a space that exists. I am more vocal politically there because it usually just makes more sense. I do read political things and I do allude to politics when I'm reading a work and it makes sense, but this isn't my political soapbox. I'm not really one of those people. I am going to be spending my time joining groups, doing things. I made a spam email so I can get notifications for things along with all of their "can you donate" emails, which unfortunately I can't donate to everything because I make very little money. I make enough money to be comfortable, not poor, but also after putting money into retirement and stuff like that, I don't have, I can't, I can donate $5, $10 here and there, and I'm hoping that helps, grassroots, but I can't do it for everything, So I do more of you need me to call someone, you need me to write a letter, I interact with my students all the time and make sure they're okay. It's a community college in downtown Cleveland. But, if you don't see me verbally talking about it here or sharing things here, chances are I'm more like that on my Discord, and know that I am doing it in my own life. And if you are scared, if you are anxious, I am with you. I am feeling the same things. But we are adaptable creatures, and we will try to get through this with as minimal losses as possible. That's all we can do. And it just sucks. It just sucks. That's to say, though, I have read some things. And it's not even a great reading week. It's not the worst week I've had. Part of what's so numbing about this week is I have had in my personal life this past year and a half so many awful things that I'm just another thing. It doesn't even really hit me the same way. And it's a lot of that denial part of grief and things like that. So, whatever. But also just the books are both hitting but also not hitting. I don't know. We'll talk about the first one I read. It was Long Live Evil, which, if you remember, I paused in September. And I picked it up again at the end of October. This is a very, meta book. Our main character is a cancer patient who's going to be terminal and die, and is given a chance to enter her favorite book series where she has not read the first book. Which annoys me, still. And she has to acquire this magical item within that world to save her life. And she knows generally the plot, but not really because she hasn't read the first book. And chaos ensues from there. It's one of those tropes where someone's trying to make the story go a certain way and it's never going to quite go the way they expect, sort of thing, because it's the butterfly effect. They do a thing and it causes domino effects. She's kind of dumb. She's a really not that intelligent character. She did grow on me a little bit. I wasn't as annoyed with her by the end. I liked the supporting cast a fair bit more. In particular, love Marius. He's kind of my trope. This is a fun book if you like a lot of these tropes and like seeing them being played with in a very self-aware way. This is definitely a love story to this type of soap opera fantasy drama. But I like watching my soap opera fantasy drama, so reading that type of story is just not quite the same for me. And I guess I also want to say this is definitely not remotely romantasy or fantasy romance, which I was kind of hoping it would be. Yes, there are pairings. Yes, there are sort of people pining, but it's more Throne of Glass, especially initial Throne of Glass, where you really don't have any of the romances happening yet, versus ACOTAR, where it's a romantasy right away. That's how I would, I think, subcategorize it. It was good. It was exactly what I thought it would be. My friends, though, in real life, obsessed. So, I don't really take my word for it. I think try it out for yourself. See if it's a good escapist time for you. They are already clamoring for the sequel next summer, late summer. Because is it a cliffhanger? It kind of is a cliffhanger, but I feel it kind of ends at a good resting point. I kind of like the ending. If I wasn't reading this with friends, I could be content with the ending, which I think is honestly kind of wild to say, because the ending is kind of a wow. But also, it makes sense, because did I mention she never read the first book of her favorite series? So of course she's gonna be a little surprised, just a smidge, just a smidge. Anyways, so I finished that, and I have actually, guys, it's happened. I have started Perhaps the Stars, which oddly timely, let me tell you, because this whole Terra Ignota series is about a world that was stable, and it's actually not as stable as people thought it was. And it's this descent into conflict and war, and this book's primarily the war and the first days of the war, which were fantastically written. It's a very dense book. I am 155 pages in. It takes like twice as long to read one of these pages as normal too, because they are itty bitty bitty font. Ada Palmer, I don't think it's Ada Palmer. Ada Palmer is also playing around a lot with the Odyssey in this one, which I thought was really fun, or at least for one chapter, there was like basically a retelling of the Odyssey, and I was like, that's silly, that's fun. And the fallout from that was also quite entertaining to me. So yeah, this is a great read so far, but it's just incredibly slow. Like, I think I spent 2 or 3 hours reading it on Sunday, and I got like 60 pages read, you know? So, I mean, I'm hoping to read another chapter today, but it's like an hour-long chapter, so it's one of those books where it's like, I try to make sure I have an hour to read it. But yeah, it's definitely a series that I think is oddly cathartic for me right now, because it really is playing with the ideas of how did we get here? And now that we are here, how does this unravel? And how do we suffer the least that we can as we get through this point? Which is very, very now, right? Like I was just saying at the top of this video, we are going to adapt. We will make it through. We are going to have losses. People are going to suffer. But how do we make it to the other end, losing as few as possible? And I'm really resonating with that theme right now. And then also, how do you collectively keep people cohesive when they have such disparate beliefs? Yeah. And also, it also even has a theme where like people are on opposite sides of wars, but these like this whole universe is built on the idea of there are no geographic boundaries anymore. So we're living with people with different beliefs, and it was fine until it's not. But these people were also just humans too. They were your neighbors. Like, if you do not live in a blue or red bubble, you live with people who voted very differently from you in the United States right now. And honestly, it's kind of a global thing. Like, the global trend towards fascism, not amazing, not great, don't like it. It's not great. But, like, you know, we're looking at that here. And how do you balance the whole, we used to be friends, but now we are just ideologically so opposed, and that means we're at war. I think it's comforting to play with it in the safety of a book, even though maybe for some people that would be too close to home. Like, also, even down to, so there's a lot of discussions in here of like, what is worth doing for the greater good? Is, even if that's an evil thing, is that worth it? And then even in this book, there was a discussion on free speech. Free speech works very differently in this book because it's not free. There is censorship to some degree because it is thought that there are just some things that, if said, would cause more harm than good. It's the equivalent, extreme version of you can't shout fire in a building if there's no fire. And honestly, like, the American in me was like, free speech all the way, all the time. Like, what are you talking about? You know, like, very, you know, from a young age, that's a thing we were taught. But honestly, free speech is probably a large reason why so many people made decisions based on information that is not true. Like, that's just how it is. Like, some people truly are hateful beings who do hate others who are different from them, and that's why they voted the way they did, and gosh, those are awful people. But some people legitimately think with their entire being that Trump's going to protect abortion, that Trump is pro-immigration. Like, the way that social media was warped for the misinformation. And, like, I'm sure we're going to learn more as we get more data and stuff like that. But it's just kind of like, freedom of speech without regulating the speech in some way has obviously been doing super great for us ever since we've had social media and the internet, which we have regulated like nothing because the old people in Congress do not know how to regulate tech. They just don't. And so, yeah, I think this is, for me, a safe, comfortable way of dealing with problems that I can't solve in my real life, but I can, you know, think about them. So, oddly, very timely decision to read Terra Ignota this year, and Perhaps the Stars at the beginning of November, because I'll be real, like, it's weird. I both knew we wouldn't win this election because I live in Ohio. Like, I have a sense of how weird it is out there. And like the fact that like only half the people have their lights on for trick-or-treaters. Like, there's just something weird in the energy of community right now. But like, there's that energy of that. But also I was just like not even paying attention to it until like I voted and I told people I cared about to vote. And, I did all of that. But then come Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, I was like, oh man, yeah, it is happening. Oh, this sucks. With that like stupid laugh because you laugh till you cry sort of thing. Anyways, that's something I'm currently reading. I finished Long Leave Evil, so I need another audiobook for work today. Also, sorry if this is just such a whiplash, but this is just how my brain is lately. Like, I'm just like, oh my god, everything's falling apart. And also like a book with psychic cats on the cover, because that's truly who I am these days. So I started this as my audiobook. If you like action books, you really have to try this series out. Like, if you like adventure action stories, I mean, they work okay for me, and yet that's like my antithesis trope. Like, to the point where like this first chapter is an action scene. I don't like that. I don't like starting with an action scene. I like that in a movie. I don't like that in a book. But it's still interesting how this opening thing ended. It kind of ended in a not quite like Arrival, but if you've ever seen the movie Arrival, it's like, oh my god, suddenly these things showed up. Or Independence Day, like that trope of like, there are suddenly these structures here, and they are sending out a message, and we don't like the message, and we don't know how these structures got here. What's happening? So that's an intriguing way to end the first chapter. So yeah, so this is going to be my audiobook. Also, Mala is still so much like Donna with her swishy swishy tail. Love it. So what are the plans? The plans are to finish these 2 books, which works. I think that would be 2 finished series. That would be great. I would be content with such a feat. And then I think I'm still going to do this because screw the world trying to get me down, especially because I'm finally, like, I think I'm healing in the right direction, guys. Like, my saga with my lower butt region is, I think, finally getting its act together. But the Lotus Empire, this baby, comes out Tuesday, okay? And right now, as I'm filming this, the Jasmine Throne ebook was on sale. It might still be by the time you're seeing this, because you're seeing this within 24 hours of me filming this, but I don't know. I don't know how sales work. Regardless, this is coming out Tuesday, and I only haven't started reading it yet because I wanted the audiobook. And I think my friend Roger and I are going to like try and like marathon buddy read this together. So like, start it Tuesday, maybe try to read as much as we can Tuesday and Wednesday, because I don't have to teach in person Wednesday. So I might not finish it then, but I think I just want to dedicate some time, especially because lately I have been like feeling like I'm in a grading hole. And so I haven't been giving myself as much relaxing time as I should, considering how much I'm paid to work. Because I've just been feeling so behind because we went out of town some weekends and we had friends in town and blah, blah, blah. So I think Tuesday and Wednesday, I could really have like my own mini 12-hour marathon, have a great time with this book, and see how it ends. So that may or may not have a great chunk of it finished by the time we are checking in next week. I don't think I need to keep telling you about the Broken Kingdoms trilogy. I adore it. And I don't know what I'll read after that. So you have to check in next week to see what I'm doing. Where's the mood at? Who's to say? Again, if you need community, feel free to join the Discord. We have a pretty strict don't be a jerk policy. And I guess who decides if you're a jerk? Me. So it's not going to be strict rules. And, there's not even a strict number of strikes. I am the dictator of my Discord, and I will use my powers accordingly. But if you need a safe space, that is a safe space for all individuals, so long as you are respectful of those around you. If you want to leave an emoji to let me know you're here, I truly have no idea. Let me think. Cat for Mala in fault tolerance. Let's do that. Or you can do a ghoul or an undead, because that's a big part of Long Live Evil, and don't we all feel just like a tiny bit dead this week? So one or the other or both. Otherwise, like if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.